Well, after finally back for some NFL action, week 1 is in the books, and last week I went 10-5-1, which kind of disappointed with. I mean, it's still a winning record, but still, I've done much better than that. Like 2015 when I went 14-2 and such. I usually do something around that for week 1. And here as the playoff stands at the season end of the day, in the AFC it's the Patriots and Chiefs with the byes, with the Dolphins at the Bengals and the Ravens at the Jaguars. And in the NFC it's the Buccaneers and Packers with the byes, with the Panthers at the Eagles and the Vikings at the Rams. And based upon how it is right now, I say it will be the Patriots beating the Packers in the Super Bowl. And that's if Aaron Rodgers is able to play. So we get to week 2 with a whole bunch of big games coming up. Start off with, surprisingly, Thursday night, thanks to the Browns and Steelers tying. This game is going to have major implications for the AFC North for the next few weeks, as the Ravens are at the Bengals. And, wow, who would have thought the Steelers and Browns would tie like that? We'll get to that later. But the Ravens, good God, they destroyed the Bills last week. But, of course, that's the Bills. I was expecting that, so it's not too surprising. At least Joe Flacco did really good. And the Bengals managed to make the comeback against the Colts, who choked really hard in the end. So, both teams are 1-0. Ravens 1-0 for the third year in a row. And the Bengals are 2-0. I mean, 1-0 for the first time since 2016. Trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2015. Oh boy, this game can be quite difficult to predict, because I think the Ravens are getting probably way too much praise. I mean, it's the Bills. You were hosting them. They're terrible. Of course you're going to destroy them like that. And the Bengals, yeah, that was a comeback and such, but I think that was more of the Colts just collapsing more than you being good and such. So this game could go either way. And remember, last year too, the Ravens, yeah, they shut out the Bengals when they visited them, but that was that usually is not the case when they visit the Bengals. Usually the Bengals spank them by and large. And then, of course, later on in the season, when the Bengals pulled the comeback against the Ravens in the last week of the season because the Ravens had to choke as such. So this can go either way, but I trust the Ravens more than I trust the Bengals, so I probably will see the Ravens getting this, but I won't be surprised if the Bengals actually get it. And then we get to our 1 p.m. games, starting off with the Chiefs at the Steelers for the first time since 2016, as, wow, they've been going back and forth between each other the last bunch of years now, as the Chiefs are trying to go 2-0 for the second year in a row. And, of course, not bad performance against the Chargers last week. Patrick Mahomes did really great. 4 touchdowns and stuff. I thought he was going to have struggle in his second year. That's why I didn't think the Chiefs were going to do well this year. And the Steelers, wow. Big Ben was awful against the Browns last week. And, of course, Le'Veon Bell being an idiot and not signing his franchise tag so he can make all that money and such. And, of course, it looked bad for him because his backup put 135 yards plus on the Browns. So that maybe the Steelers might consider, this new guy's cheaper and he's doing just almost the same production off as Antonio Brown already. Maybe we'll consider cutting him or trading him eventually. But that's still pretty embarrassing that you tied or lost to the Browns despite all that effort you did. I mean, you blew a huge fourth quarter lead, for crying out loud. But anyways, onto the game itself. The Chiefs, when they visit the Steelers, they get destroyed pretty much. And even though the Steelers obviously are not looking really good right now, Big Ben struggling, Le'Veon Bell not playing, I think the Steelers could still pull this off. Then it's the Texans at the Titans, as the Titans, oh boy, I think the game honestly was more ugly because the Titans at Dolphins game was postponed for 7 hours, for crying out loud. Remember that. They were playing for 7 hours before it finally ended. So I think that was more because of the game being late in the actual performance. But man, Marcus Mariota laid an egg. I think he got injured too, which is definitely not good. And then of course the Texans, Deshaun Watson, he did not look good at all coming back. I can only hope that was just going up against the Patriots and not a major concern oh boy, he's probably going to bust out after that incredible start to his rookie season. But this could be a pretty ugly game between these two, but I think the Titans would probably get it. Then it's the Colts at the Redskins for the first time since 2010. Finally, not Sunday night like it was the last 2 times in 2002 and 2010. As the Colts trying to avoid 0-2 for the 4th year in a row. Redskins are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2011. And the Colts, what the hell were you doing blowing that lead against the Bengals? You had a 23-10 lead, I think it was, going in the 4th quarter. and you let the Bengals score, what was it, like 24 unanswered points off them, and the Redskins, holy shit, they destroyed the Cardinals. Like 200 yards rushing almost. Alex Smith looked pretty damn good. Good God! I think that was more like just a fluke because they were going up against the Cardinals and how they're actually going to play. But if the Redskins could play like that, holy shit, they could actually be a major force in the NFC. But I don't think that's going to be the case. I think this game can go either way, but seeing how the Redskins played that week, even though that was just against the Cardinals, I think they could pull it off at home right now. So I can see them going 2-0. And then we get to another big showdown in the AFC East as the Dolphins are at the Jets, as the Dolphins trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2013. Jets trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2015. And wow, whoever wins this game is going to lead the AFC East right now too, since they have the division record, which the Patriots do not have yet. And the Dolphins, yeah, you won, but you didn't look really good, although I think that's more because of the game delay than your actual performance. The Jets, oh my goodness, they destroyed the Lions on Monday night, but I think that was more because of Stafford being injured and such, which I'll get to later. I doubt they're going to put up that kind of performance later on, or something like that again this year. But since the Jets are the home team, and I thought that Sam Darnold too, after that pick 6 on his first throw, he looked pretty good. Hopefully he can keep that up against the Dolphins too and such, so I think the Jets actually could pull this off and get off to a surprise 2-0 start. Either way, Dolphins or Jets, whoever starts 2-0 is going to be quite impressive. And then we get to another big, possibly big NFC East showdown as the Eagles are at the Buccaneers for the first time since 2012. The Eagles are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2016. Buccaneers trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2010, I believe it was. As the Eagles, oh boy, they definitely need Carson Wentz back, but I think I saw on NFL.com he might not even be back till maybe week 9 possibly. That's half the season they're talking about. Their defense played really good, but that offense, oh my god, that was really bad. And the Buccaneers, wow, so much for not having Jameis Winston. They fucking torched the Saints defense. Ryan Fitzpatrick probably had his best game of his career, for crying out loud. That was unbelievable production they had. Now, of course, was that just like a fluke in the Saints defense or being the Saints defense, or could this be a sign that maybe the Buccaneers could have a major turnaround this year? And that's, of course, can you imagine when Jameis Winston comes back, they probably would be even better, perhaps. That's going to be quite interesting to see this game, but I still think the Eagles would probably get, because I don't fully trust the Buccaneers. I think that was more like a fluke. Then it's the Browns at the Saints for the first time since 2010, as the Saints are trying to avoid 0-2 for the 5th year in a row, and oh, jeez, Saints, what the hell happened? How could you blow that game, for crying out loud? How did you let the Buccaneers score 48 points on your ass? Looks like the Saints are possibly going back to the Saints of old the last 5 years so far with that terrible defense and made the offense do all the work, and of course that wasn't enough. And for the Browns, hey, the fact that you at least tied them instead of outright losing is better overall. So hey, at least you can avoid another 0-16 start, but of course you need to start actually getting some wins like you should have done last week too. But of course, now the Browns actually beat the Saints last time, surprisingly, when the Saints, Drew Brees threw like 5 interceptions against them or something like that. You can only hope that doesn't happen this time. But hey, they made Big Ben throw 4 interceptions, so I don't see how that could probably be that much effort to maybe do Drew Brees as well. This game actually could probably be close, or it could be a blowout as well, possibly too, seeing how terrible the Browns' offense is. But I think the Saints could hopefully get it this time around, not look like a fool themselves to let the Browns get their first win in over a year. Then it's the Panthers at the Falcons, a big NFC showdown as the Panthers trying to go 2-0 for the 2nd year in a row. The Falcons are trying to avoid going 0-2 for the first time since 2007. As the Panthers, their defense looked okay against the Cowboys, but Cam Newton, other than that touchdown run, he seemed kind of underperforming. And of course, Matt Ryan, the Falcons offense, they could not get anything going. They were at the goal line 5 times in that Sunday night game, that first night game against the Eagles, and that still wasn't enough for them. But I think at home, I think the Falcons could pull it off. You can only hope they will, or else they're going to be in trouble if they lose to the Panthers. Then it's the Chargers at the Bills for the first time since 2014, as the Chargers are trying to avoid 0-2 for the 2nd year in a row. The Bills are trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2016. As the Chargers, oh my god, Bills, I know you're going to be terrible against the Ravens. I know you're going to be terrible all year, but Jesus Christ, 47-3. maybe that's why you should have started Josh Allen instead of Nathan Peterman. Hopefully you learned your lesson, and because you put Josh Allen as a starter now, so hopefully the Josh Allen era can finally begin with the Bills and such, and maybe he'll play much better. And the Chargers, oh my God, you choked against the Chiefs. I mean, that's been the case actually the last bunch of years. I believe the Chiefs have beaten the Chargers in either San Diego or Los Angeles since 2014. That's how common it's been. How do you keep blowing your games against the Chiefs, for crying out loud? You let Patrick Mahomes have an awesome game against you, for God's sake. But I think you're significantly better than the Bills, so I think you'll destroy them. But watch, God forbid, the Chargers choke again and let the Bills somehow get the win. Then another big NFC showdown in the NFC North as the Vikings visit the Packers. As the Vikings are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2016, the Packers are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2015. And the Vikings, they did pretty good against the 49ers, and Kirk Cousins looked okay. The Packers, well, Aaron Rodgers showed why he's up there as the best QB in the league and such, but you got to have concerns because he got knocked out of a knee injury against the Bears. And when I was out in Baltimore yesterday on Twitter, I found out he didn't play any practice at all yesterday, so that's definitely not a good sign. Bad enough you're going to miss him possibly, but then God forbid he actually does play and he gets himself injured again for probably a good part of the season against the same team that did last year to him, so you got to be very worried. So I actually think this game could go either way depending on if Aaron Rodgers plays. If he does play, which so far right now I guess is going to happen, but I haven't heard him being out or anything, then the Packers will win. But if he doesn't play, then the Vikings will get the victory. So this actually could change right now. This could actually change when we get closer to the week who I think will win. But right now, Aaron Rodgers, I think so far is going to play. So I say the Packers right now. But if he doesn't play, then I'm going to switch it to the Vikings. Then we get to the 4 p.m. games, starting with the Lions at the 49ers for the first time since 2012. Lions trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2015. 49ers are trying to avoid 0-2 for a second year in a row. As the 49ers, I do think they're way overestimated. But, I mean, it's at the Vikings. I mean, they actually got within a score, so it's not like they were terrible against the Vikings, but they did kind of underperform the expectations, but I'm not surprised because I didn't have that high expectations from like everyone else. The Lions, oh my goodness God, they completely imploded on Monday night. Matthew Stafford got injured pretty early in the game, and they decided to keep his ass in there. Dude, I know I didn't get to watch most of the game because I had a huge fight on Adam Silver for like 2 hours and such, but he fucking looked terrible against the Jets. He threw 4 interceptions, for crying out loud. He was injured. They should have took him out after that injury. It was obvious he couldn't play at the high level that they needed to do, and he just dug the Lions into an even deeper hole against the Jets. So if I was the Lions, I honestly would probably have him sit out this week just to get him ready for the rest of the season and such. But of course, I'm sure they're going to start him and such if he's able to play. And I think the 49ers will get it right now. Then it's the Cardinals at the Rams, as the Cardinals are trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since I think 2005. And the Rams are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since I believe 2001. That's how long it's been, I believe, since the last time they went 2-0. And Cardinals, of course, they completely imploded against the Redskins. I am not surprised whatsoever. And the Rams, after that tough start against the Raiders, they actually played pretty good against them after that. So, of course, seeing how the Rams destroyed the Cardinals last season, I think it's going to be the Rams easily getting this win. Then it's the Raiders at the Broncos, as the Raiders are trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2014, and the Broncos trying to go 2-0 for, Jesus Christ, was it like 6 years in a row or 7 years in a row or something like that? My God, they can't stop going 2-0 almost. Oh, boy. Anyways, Broncos, well, with Case Keenum, he threw 3 picks, but in the end, you still somehow beat the Broncos, so I guess you could count yourselves lucky, but he got stop throwing all those interceptions to have any shot of the Broncos making the playoffs. Meanwhile, for the Raiders, oh my goodness God. Someone for John Gruden's return, they laid an egg after playing so good in the first half. Derek Carr looked completely scared, and he threw 3 interceptions, including one of them that was wide open to a Rams defender, for crying out loud. Unless maybe Case Keenum throws so many interceptions back for the Raiders that they can get, like, red zone opportunities, I think the Broncos are going to easily get this. Not even probably close. Then we get to another huge AFC matchup, as is our rematch of the AFC Championship last year, as the Patriots are at the Jaguars for the first time since 2012. Patriots trying to go 2-0 for the first time since 2016. Jaguars are trying to go 2-0 for the first time since, I believe, 2006. That's how long it's been. And the Patriots looked pretty good against the Texans, although it's still the Texans, so it's not really that much of a surprise they beat them. Jaguars held on and barely beat the Giants, and their defense played pretty damn good against them, too, so they did their job at least. And, oh boy, this is going to be very interesting, I'm sure. Well, actually, I might be able to watch it, hopefully, if it's on CBS, since the Ravens aren't going to be playing, so maybe I'll be lucky enough to see this. I actually think the Jaguars will pull it off. I mean, if they can almost beat the Patriots in Foxborough, remember, how can they not beat them, host them, especially when they probably might even be playing a little bit better, or maybe the Patriots playing a little bit worse, so I still think the Jaguars can get it. And then we get to Sunday night, which I'll still never understand why the NFL keeps insisting on doing this game, even though one of the teams went 3-13 last year. The Giants at the Cowboys. The Giants trying to avoid 0-2 for the second year in a row. The Cowboys trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2010. And the Giants, they lost, but they did look okay. They just could not hold on, because they gave the Jaguars a hard-fought game in the end. The Cowboys, oh my God, their offense was so terrible. So terrible that even Dez Bryant's stupid ass was trolling him on Twitter. They're like, I could have helped you get the win. Yeah, right, you're washed up. You couldn't do anything. Hell, boy, this game could probably go either way defensively, but who do you trust right now? The Giants or the Cowboys? Believe it or not, I actually trust the Giants right now more than the Cowboys, so I think the Giants actually could pull it off. And then we get to Monday night. Still no idea why they picked this game, as it's the Seahawks at the Bears for the first time since 2012. Seahawks trying to avoid 0-2 for the first time since 2015. Bears trying to avoid 0-2 for the fourth year in a row, I believe it was. As the Seahawks, hard-fought game against the Broncos. They forced Russell Wilson to throw all those picks, so they did their job against Russell Wilson, since that's the main strength of the Seahawks, looks like right now. And the Bears, oh my goodness, Khalil Mack single-handedly at first won the game for them, and then they shat the bed and choked and let the Packers, with an injured Aaron Rodgers, somehow pull the comeback. Oh my God, that was pretty damn embarrassing. But since you did that, well, on the road in Lambeau against an injured, almost the injured Packers team with Aaron Rodgers, how can you not do that against the Seahawks this week, with pretty much just Russell Wilson doing all the work and such? And his scrambling ability probably ain't going to be enough to run away from Khalil Mack, so I think the Bears actually might get this. So those are my Week 2 picks. I can't wait for Ravens and Bengals tonight. That's going to be huge, and the rest of the Week 2 games, and hopefully I can break my streak of usually being bad for like Week 2 and 3 during my times of predicting games, and hopefully I can do good and get better than 10-5-1 this week. So, see you guys for Week